All right, guys, welcome to the call tonight. I'm so glad that you guys can jump on tonight. I know that we're all busy, so I always appreciate when you can jump on live because I feel like it's great when you can interact live instead of just watching the recording. So thank you guys so much for coming on now, especially since we have a guest. I always like to bring someone else on because it's always great to hear another coach perspective. You hear me talk, you hear Keisha talk, and just having other coaches from other networks come in and just tell them about their experiences is awesome too. So just a couple things, and I'm going to give it to Meredith. I want to announce a couple coaches that are new that we have on the call for the first time. We've got 3 new ones tonight. We've got Misty and Andrea and Julie. So welcome to our team. We're so glad to have you guys as a part of us, and just glad to have you. So excited that you guys made an effort to be on the call tonight. And then just a couple of things as far as the month goes. I've heard so many of you say, oh my gosh, this month is so hard. I have no Success Club points. I have 2 Success Club points. Nobody's responding to me. Nobody's talking to me. You're not alone, okay? This happens this time of year every time. And I had lunch with Katie today, and you guys know Katie's our upline, very successful, and she's like, everybody's in a funk right now. So you have a choice. Like, you have a choice to play the victim and be like, oh, nobody's talking to me right now. I'm just not going to hit Success Club, or, I'm not going to help change any lives this month. Or you can invite more people, right, and talk to more people and just create more conversation. So I just kind of wanted to put that plug in because I know it's tough. Like, I know, and we get overwhelmed. So hopefully this call is going to help us out tonight to not be as overwhelmed. But I just wanted to encourage you there to not stop, because it does get tough. But it's just like in your fitness journey. When things get tough, you can't stop there. So same thing with coaching. You can't stop when people don't respond to you, because I promise you, they might not respond to you right now, but they will 3 months from now, or a year from now, or 2 years from now. They're always watching, so don't forget that. Okay, so there's a couple things too. The health bet, of course, that's going to continue on for the rest of this month until the first couple of days of October. So make sure you're plugged. You got your challengers plugged in there as far as that goes. I don't know if any of you have seen or used the Coach online, the Coach Office online app. I have not downloaded it myself yet because I need room on my phone. I'm sure you guys can relate, right? We always have to delete pictures before we take our workout pictures. Gosh, like I am the world's worst. So, but anyway, that is available. You should have gotten an email on it. So check that out if that's something, if you're on your phone a lot, as far as that goes. So, without anything else, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Meredith to you guys tonight. Meredith is from Lexington, Kentucky. She is a wife and a mom of 3, so she's a busy woman. She's also a mom to a dog, so that's pretty busy too. She has been coaching for a year, actively coaching for a year, and just like a lot of you guys, she started her journey with 21 Day Fix. And she is a diamond coach. She's a Success Club All-Star, which for those of you that are new, that simply means that for 12 months, for a year, she has consistently been inviting people. She's consistently helped changing lives each and every month in her business. She's also a teacher, which a lot of you can relate to. You're either a teacher or you work in the school system in some way. So when I thought about being overwhelmed and someone else to talk to you guys, I thought that she would be perfect because I really think that she can relate to you and your lifestyle and how busy you guys are. And so without anything else, I'm going to go ahead and mute myself and let Meredith have it.
Oh, hi. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? I was just saying that I'm glad to see that some of you have kids still awake, because my 4-year-old is still up and running around like a maniac. So he just boycotts bed most of the time. So if you hear a loud noise, it's probably him jumping off furniture. But hi, and Mandy, thanks again for having me on. Just like Mandy said, I started doing 21 Day Fix last March. And I talked to Mandy about it like 2 years before. And at the time I just wasn't ready. And I honestly, at the time, had no idea there was even such thing as teams or coaches or anything else. So then this girl at my school started doing it and asked me to join her, and I did. I really didn't even know there was anything beyond that. But like she said, I have 3 kids. They're 12 and 7 and 4. And I do teach full time. I was in the classroom for 7 years. And for the past 5 years, I've done all of our building assessment coordinator work. So that's what I do 90% of the time. I do all of our testing and all of our data. I do teacher observations. Those of you that are teachers, I do a lot of the TPGES evaluations and observations. I do all of our program reviews. I just wear a bunch of different hats in my building. We've got about 2,000 students at my school. And so that's kind of what I do. And I've got 3 kids, and I used to always joke that going from 1 to 2 kids was way harder than going from 2 to 3 until this year. And when my youngest turned 4, we have started having kids everywhere. So our lives are even more busy than normal. I've got 3 kids in 3 different schools, a middle school, an elementary school, and a preschool. So we're just nuts kind of all the time. And my husband is also a teacher. He's also a basketball coach for my son's AAU team and for the middle school. So when Mandy says we're busy, we are busy. So I really understand the life of all of you busy moms. And so what she asked me to do tonight is just talk to you guys a little bit about how I kind of balance my time, how I manage my time, and that kind of thing. So when I first started coaching, I really just did it for the discount, like a lot of us do. I just kind of wanted the discount on my Shakeology. And then when people started realizing what I was doing and I was kind of telling people about it, that's really when I decided to start really working actively in coaching. And I remember telling my coach, I have no idea when I'm going to fit this in my life, because I'm lucky if I go to the bathroom by myself. So I didn't know when I was going to fit in a business. So when I started doing it, I was watching a webinar or a training, and they said, think about all the times that you're just sitting during the day. And of course I'm thinking, I never sit during the day, but I sat down and I wrote down all of the times during my day when I was just sitting, because in my mind, you work when you sit. So I did that. I wrote down every hour of the day, like from the time I wake up until the time I go to bed, when I was sitting, right? So I usually have like the morning before school. I usually have like lunch. I didn't really have much time during the day, but then after school, I had all this time where I was sitting at ballet practice or football practice or soccer practice or whatever it may be. I was sitting, right? And those were times that normally I would be socializing with other moms, or I would be, just looking on Facebook or scrolling on things. So what I did is I literally wrote down my day, every time I was sitting. And I had all these pockets of time. And it looked different than, I heard all these coaches talking about power hours and all this stuff. And I never had an hour. There was very rarely an hour of time during my day. And I'm sure some of you can relate to that when you're thinking of power hour. You're like, I don't even have 5 minutes. So I sat down and I had all these pockets of time, and I had to figure out when I could do what. So for example, from 8:25 until 3:15, I'm at school. That's my work hours. So I'm friends with like my principals on Facebook. I'm friends with former parents on Facebook and former students. So I thought, well, I can do some work during that chunk of time, but I definitely can't like be posting on Facebook during that chunk of time. So I kind of took those periods of time and I figured out what I could do during each of those times. So what I decided to do, so basically, here's kind of my day. And I was trying earlier today to send my calendar to myself, and I'm actually not sure that I ever did it. I was trying to at school. But basically what I figured out was from about, like I usually wake up at 5:30. I work out. I have to work out first thing in the morning. And I always go ahead and figure out my morning post for the day. I usually plan like a day ahead. I don't even have a planner in here. But like already today, I planned out my posts for tomorrow, the bulk of tomorrow. Maybe not specifically what they're going to say, but like I know tomorrow night I'm going to do a coaching post at some point. I always kind of plan a day ahead if I can, because if I don't, then usually I don't have time to put something together immediately. So in the morning, as soon as I wake up, I always get my workout done, and I always do a morning post in the morning. So the first thing I do when I wake up, right, I work out, I have my coffee, I'll usually either listen to like a podcast or a Pedialyte kind of while I'm getting ready, and I always do my invites. I always do that the first thing in the morning, because for me, that's the thing that I tend to not want to do. And so I always do them first thing in the morning. Usually I'll do them by like 6 a.m. And I'll send all of those out, or any messages, just kind of quick. So that's usually like my morning work time is maybe like 20 minutes total. And then I'll drop everyone gets ready and we'll leave for the day. I'll drop them off. And then I sit in my car until I do a morning post. Like I do not go into my building until I get my morning post kind of done. So then I just go throughout my day. I never do anything related to Facebook during the school day unless I happen to do some kind of lunch post. But here's what I do. I do always, like, I'll listen to National Wake Up Call while I eat lunch. Or I will do trainings and have those playing as I work on stuff. I will also use any work time that I have to either plan post, or I'll create stuff. Like if I know I need to create like a banner for my team page, or an announcement, or a recognition, or a new coach, I can do that during my daytime. I just try not to do anything like publicly Facebook while I'm at work, because people are probably like, are you supposed to be working at your job? So, but I try to do, anytime I get like, a few minutes here and there, that's when I try to cram stuff during my day. I used to eat lunch with a group of people. And honestly, what I found was that is usually my best personal development time, is my lunch break. I would usually get back from lunch and just be so exhausted from talking to everybody. And, it took me a while to get back focused. So usually I eat lunch kind of by myself at my desk, and I'll just listen to something, or a training, or I'll listen to Audible, or I carry my book with me right now. I just finished The Energy Bus. I don't know if you guys have read that, but it's like the best book. I just finished it. And I'll read that, during the day. So I kind of have transformed my lunchtime a little bit. And then after school, I always devote 20 minutes before I leave to do work stuff. So before I ever leave to get in my car, before I ever go pick a kid up, I use that time to do a post, to check into my challenge groups, to check into my coach page, to do any follow-ups, but no more than 20 minutes, because I'm usually running a kid here to there. And then what I do is, once I'm sitting somewhere, so I'm either, waiting for my kid to get done with basketball, or I'm waiting in traffic, because that's all we have here. Or anytime I'm just sitting there, I'm doing some kind of work, because that's what we have to do. We just have to kind of fit it in where we can. And I used to feel really guilty about not doing a power hour, as some coaches can do. And I would sit, and what would happen is, like, the time that my husband and I have that's semi-quiet with our 4-year-old running around, all I was doing was like sitting on my phone or on my computer working. And I would go to bed and still feel like I hadn't really said, like, hey, did you have a good day yet? So I just really try before, like, and there are some days I'll pull up in my driveway and I'll sit in my garage, and be working, because once I come in my house with the kids and dinner and homework and how was your day? How was your day? Just the chaos of that, 4:30 to 7:30 time is just kind of crazy for us. So I kind of work around that. So then I usually get my husband to kind of tag in and do bath time and pajama time. And that usually like 7:30 to 8 o'clock chunk of time, I also use to like, again, do my follow-ups always then. I do my last challenge group post for the night, like where I post in, my food or whatever I'm doing, my logging in, my Shakeology and workout, and do any messages. And then the only thing else I have after bedtime, I usually just reserve for like team calls and things like that I'm doing, any kind of webinar. So I think that's kind of how I fit it in. I just really had to let go of the guilt of not doing that solid hour, because I just couldn't find an hour. Like, I can't get up any earlier than I'm not a morning person. So 5:30 for me is like really tough. Like, my husband has to kind of drag me out of bed. So any earlier wasn't working. And I just couldn't, you can't give up the time with your family, which if you have a 4-year-old, there's no time anyway. So that's just kind of how I have to do. And, I know it still sounds kind of early. Like, I feel like when I was a new coach, I was really diligent about using like a tracker, but I still do a tracker every day. Like, I still print out, and I'll send it to Mandy, the one that I use. It's not the one in the office. It's like a different simplified kind of, but I still use that every single day. Like, if I do not do that every single day, then I just don't do it. Like, I'm just so trained, and I have it right on my planner every day. Like, I make like 20 copies and I keep them there, and I check it off every day, because I will forget or I will just not do it. So just seeing that reminder in front of me all day, and I keep them on my desk at work. Like, students will come in and I'm like, yeah, that's just my to-do list. Do you use an agenda? I just turn it back to them. But I keep it there every day. I never get rid of that. So if you don't use some sort of, just checklist for yourself every single day, I recommend it, especially if you're trying to balance working kids and coaching all at the same time. But that's typically kind of how my day goes. I really try, and I've really had to train myself. Every person kind of has, I'm a teacher, and I don't answer emails after work hours. I don't respond to the emails from parents on Sundays, because that's not a work hour for me. And I really kind of had to learn to set some parameters of when to get back to people and when to fit things in. And I feel better when I can, kind of give my time at home more that is, if I can just fit and sacrifice, 10 minutes at lunch laughing with my coworkers, I can get them in the hallway. But if I've got a lunchtime when I can do some work, that's just kind of when I have to kind of get it in. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I do it. My invites are like my non-negotiables and my follow-ups. I do those every single day. I never, ever, ever go to bed without getting those two things done every day. And that's what I think is the most important to get day. There are days where, unfortunately, like, I may not get my personal development in, but it's rare. And if I do, I try to make up for it. Like Sunday, maybe like 30 minutes of reading, when my kids are kind of having quiet time or they're outside. But, for me, the inviting and the follow-up and the messaging, like before bed tonight, I'll sit and comment on people's Facebook for 10 minutes, just to keep me in their feet, things like that. But I just take little bits of time every day, and that's kind of what you have to do, I feel. That's my spiel.
That was great. Yes, that was awesome. I have a couple things that I wanted to ask, but before I do, I wanted to see if anybody has any questions for Meredith on like her day, because I think a lot of you can relate to that, like on her schedule. Because let's just be quite honest, a lot of you can't relate to me because I do this full time. So when I tell you, just fit it in, you're like, yeah, you've got all day to do it, you know? So I'm glad that we have other people to relate this so you can see that it can be done, that she's successful. You know, she's hit Success Club for 12 months in a row as a new coach, and just fitting it in. So feel free to ask her any and all questions that you guys have.
I was just going to add to Meredith. I built my business the same way as Meredith. You know, I work and if it's in the cracks, and my schedule is very similar to hers. And, you know, you do have to have those non-negotiables. And just like she said, there's some days that you don't get it all in. Like, you just have to forgive yourself. And it is usually the personal development that falls for me too, or, you know, something like that. But yeah, I mean, the same for me. The invites, the follow-ups, those I feel like are my non-negotiables as well. And showing up on social media daily, you know, posting on social media. And there are times when you can't get it all in and something has to go. And that's okay. You know, you just try better the next day and hope that you do get it in. But yeah, I use my time in the car a lot, similar to you. I sit in the garage and finish things up. Often, I mean, because it's as soon as you walk in the house, it's go time, and
Yes.
you know, you don't want to feel like, oh, hold on, kids, you want my attention, but I'm finishing this message, you know. So yeah, you know, I think a lot of us can relate to that. But yeah, it is about that balance, and you know, people ask me how I do it, and that's exactly how I do it too. I mean, you just make non-negotiables, you fit it in the cracks, and you do the best you can do, and get up and do it again. About it.
And you know, I feel like I used to spend, like when I was the new coach, like I look back at some of my posts from like a year ago and I'm like, oh my God, that took me like 2 hours to put together. Like I would spend hours on PicMonkey or Canva, like trying to make the best, you know, post, and then it would get like 1 like, you know, and, like I take a selfie and there's like 20, you know, so like I just have kind of learned, like on the days, like Keisha said, like you've got to be present on there. People don't care what you post as long as you're on there. I mean, I asked about like wearing white jeans yesterday, and like all these people commented, like who knew that was even a big deal, but it is. People are passionate. But you know, just, you don't always have to wait for those aha moments, like those big, you know, everyone loves the before and afters, but all of our pictures are not before and afters. Like sometimes they're just being on there and engaging with people. And some days I'm just driving to the grocery and that's my post, you know, like you just have to kind of be there, you know, just stay in the newsfeed.
Yes, exactly. I totally agree. There's definitely times when I have, you know, good posts, but they usually just come to me. Yeah, I used to like try to think real hard, and those usually didn't go well. It's the ones that come to me. But yeah, I mean, there's so much of my stuff that's just random. Like, this is my day, and it's just it. So it didn't have to be hard.
But I do agree. Like, I feel the same way. Like, in the beginning, I spent so many hours on Canva and PicMonkey too, because I like that stuff. Like, that's my jam. I love to do that stuff. And so you find that you spend a lot of time on busy stuff. So you really have to think of your key tasks, your key priorities, like what's important, inviting. And so like usually the thing that you don't like to do, just like Meredith said, that is so important. And if you've read Eat That Frog or No Excuses by Brian Tracy, you know that that's what you do first. So I'm the opposite. Inviting, that is one of my strong points. And I invite every single day, typically without fail. But I like to invite. Now, I haven't always been like that. I've really grown stronger in that. I've gotten my inviting process down. My weakness is I pay for trainings and never do them. So I don't block out times to actually do the training that I paid for. And so like, I had to tell Keisha, okay, I'm going to do this training from this time to this time. My phone's in airplane mode, and then I'm going to tell you that I did it. Okay. And then I'm going to do it. But I have to do that first. I have to block that time out and then say, okay, this is what I'm going to have to do. Because if I don't, guess what happens? The rest of my day gets away from me, and then it's not done. Kind of like your workout, right? Just like I work out first thing in the morning. The last several mornings I've been working on stuff, and then I got my workout in tonight at like 7:30. So it's just like that. But I think you really have to just write down, and you have to come with a purpose. You can't just show up. It is a business. Like you can't just not treat it like a business. Like I always, like even in the beginning, because most of you might not even know this, like in the beginning, I wasn't a full-time coach. I still had my personal training business. I was going to school full-time. We worked a youth ministry. So it hasn't always been like this. And I think sometimes that we can compare. I do it. Like I look at Keisha and I did it today. We're looking at these coaches that have been in the business for 5-6 years, and you can't compare yourself to that. So I think sometimes that, you guys might even look at me and be like, oh, she sends out these ebooks and she does this YouTube. You don't have to do any of that. Like I didn't do that for a long time. And just because I do it now doesn't mean that you have to do it ever. You do you, because that's the thing. Like that's what I love about coaching. There's absolutely no competition in this business, because I'm going to connect with someone else and someone else is going to connect with you. And that's what I love about coaching. So just like in your post, do you, be you. Don't look at someone else's post like, oh, that got really good engagement and it good. A lot of people like that, so I'm going to try to recreate that. No, be yourself. Just people want to see themselves in you. So if you can really relate that and be vulnerable about that, take the pressure off yourself. You're overthinking it. Just say, okay, I need to invite and I need to talk to people. And just like when I was talking to Katie today, we were talking about that. It's like, it really comes down to building relationships. And I think sometimes that we forget about that. Like we forget while we're in this. Take away success club points, take away rank, take away income. Who cares about all that? Think about what we're trying to do here. We're trying to impact someone's life, right? I mean, if your life has been changed with Beachbody, whether it be the community, whether it be the products or the transformation inside or outside, that's what you're trying to do for someone else. And if you haven't had that experience, that's where we need to work on. You work on you first, right? We never stop working on ourselves. So sometimes I just think we overthink it. I know I overwhelm myself. Like I put so much pressure on myself. And so anyway, I got off topic there. But if you could, Meredith, I was going to ask you this, because I think sometimes a lot of new coaches, will come in and they're like kind of confused on like who to invite. Like how do you form a list on who you invite?
I still do. I'm like a paper pencil girl. I know people have different kind of systems. There's a lot of technology systems. I use like notebook, pencil, paper. And I usually, I try to find people who I tend to find, like most of my coaches are people like me, that's kind of my niche, are people that are working, or moms that work outside, that are full-time working outside the home. That tends to be kind of my niche more than any. So I usually try to just find people who are kind of like me, and I just kind of tell them, my experience. I used to be, someone who would say, I don't have time to go to the gym, because I didn't have time to go to the gym. But I have time to walk downstairs to my basement, and I try to find people that are kind of in the same boat as I was, that might be thinking, I have no time to go to the gym. I'm running around everywhere. I've got too much going on. When am I going to do this? When am I going to do that? My husband and I used to try to go to the gym, but we'd end up like passing each other, like I would go after school and then I'd go home, I'd come home and then he would go, because we have kids, so I try to find people that are kind of in the same boat as I am about things, because I feel like I can connect to that.
So when you find those people, like, and you're ready to invite, like, do you already have like a pre-made list so you know who you're going to invite, or how do you do that?
Sometimes, yeah, like I usually start with an idea of like people I'm going to invite, but then sometimes I'm just looking through Facebook and commenting, and I'll see someone say something and I'll send them an invite. I oftentimes also, like when I'm trying to add to my network, I will go to, like, I will get on, my husband's from here, so I'll get on his friends list and find people that kind of are like me. And I will add them as friends, and I'll just keep, on Facebook, it'll show you your recently added friends, and I will send them a message like, hey, thanks for adding me. I know you and my husband went to high school together or whatever, and I'll just start talking to them like relationship-wise. But I don't ever like cold invite, unless it's someone, especially if it's someone that recently accepted like a friend request from me. I usually try to like talk about other stuff before I just send them like a, you know, hey, join me kind of group. But yeah, I keep up with people just paper pencil. You know, no, they said no or not interested now, or, you know, whatever it may be.
And I think like everybody has to find their groove. Like I have probably had 8 different systems since I've become a coach, and you will continuously evolve as your business grows. Like when you first become a coach, you know, you might do it one way. Like I'm a technology person. I love technology. Everything I do is on technology. But like I've gone from Excel to Street to Teamsy back to Street, you know, and like just over and over. And so like you guys just kind of have to find your groove, and it takes a good 3 to 6 months to kind of find, you know, a good groove.
Yeah. I would find myself like I tried Teamsy, and then I'd be like wanting to write it down too. So it was just like
pen and paper works for you. Yeah. All right. Anybody else have any questions? Was this helpful? Do you guys helpful? Yeah. Because, you know, let's be honest, like even myself, like I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so busy. As soon as the kids come home, it's just run, run, run. But are we busy 100% of the time that we say we are? Like there's always something that you can find. Like she said, like if you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Like you really are. So yeah, it might take, maybe I made a post. I think it was an Instagram post I posted today. It was like, you know, I used to love to watch Grey's Anatomy. Like that was my thing. I loved Grey's Anatomy. I haven't watched it in 3 years. Like I don't watch TV at all now, like just at all. And that's a sacrifice that I was willing to make. So you could probably find something in your life that you could probably do without, and it wouldn't kill you. I mean, I think Keisha has even said this before. Like how many of us go to the toilet with our phones? How many? I mean, everybody does it. Go on there and pop out 3 new friend requests, right? I mean, seriously, it's something that simple of just doing that little thing instead of scrolling. You know, and those are some things too. Like I just stopped Facebook scrolling. I never scroll the newsfeed. I never check my notifications. I check into my groups. I check my messages. And, you know, I turn off notifications. And somebody, like one of my family members might say, well, I commented on your picture. Sorry. You know, I try to catch them as I go. But, like, and you can't feel like you're a slave to it. And we talked about this on a call before. Like, just because someone sends you a message, do not feel like you have to get back to them right then and there. Like, no, do not do that. Like, that will drive you insane. I did that in the beginning. Like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose this challenge pack. So I've got to message. And just like Meredith said, like, John and Noah would be in the car. I'm like, just a second. Like, I'm almost done. He's like, you've been almost done for 2 hours, you know, and that's what it happens. And you're in this business to create freedom. And that's not creating freedom. So just kind of take a deep breath. I have to do it myself sometimes because I love it. Like it really is a passion of mine, but at the same time, you still have to breathe and spend time with your family and, you know, not constantly be on our phones. Like I have to put mine in the phone every now and then. So don't be so hard on yourselves, mamas, right? We are so hard on ourselves, but don't overwhelm yourselves. All right, we're going to wrap this up. Anybody have any last questions or any questions at all? Well, we thank you very much, Meredith, for hosting our call tonight. This was very helpful information, very relatable. I think that it's going to help. And again, just thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye.